Alright, so nagbabalik tayo sa ating violin tips and tricks. And for today's video, I want to talk about yung right arm rotation, no? And how do we use it properly, especially when retaking. Ayan. So, first things first, ano ba yung pag-retake ng bow? So, usually we do retake the bow when we do a down bow stroke and then we want to do another down bow. So gaano ka-importante yung arm rotation when it comes down to this technique or movement, no? Especially when retaking. Yan. So, a lot of beginners have a hard time with retaking, no? Ang nangyayari sa kanila if they do this is tumatalbog yung bow. They have bouncy bows, no? They can't control the impact of the bow when it hits the string again. So, ganun yung nangyayari. Yeah? So, why does this happen? First, so, our bow is mainly a spring, no? Merong, kumbaga parang it's spring-loaded, no? Because of the tension that the hairs create across the whole of the bow, no? And the stick. So, the stick acts as a spring. So, when we do this, ang nangyayari is nagbabounce yung string. So, if we apply a downward force or a downward movement, ano nangyayari? Nagbabounce. So, if you see, it's bouncing on its own. Kahit na nilapat ko lang siya. So, we don't want to really put it down, especially when we are retaking. Or kahit pag nilapag na lang natin yung bow, no? That rotation of your arm, putting it down, is gonna help to alleviate that bounciness. Paano? We have to move at the direction where the bow goes, especially if we are retaking. So what do? Is we have to dissipate that bouncing. No, kailangan hindi natin siya puwersahin to move at the direction of that bounce. So instead, we want to round off that corner. No, we don't want it to directly crash land, no? Ayaw natin siya mag-landing directly na paganyan. So, what do? We rotate our arm. So, at the point of landing, kailangan ready ka na. You're already going to move at the bow's direction para ma-dissipate natin yung impact, no? So that it doesn't come back up, para hindi siya mag-spring. So what do is, as soon as we hit, kailangan matanggal na natin yung downward force. Kailangan ma-dissipate na natin siya into motion, no? So, kailangan paglapag, diretso na agad sa stroke, no? It's the same thing as how, free runners or parkour practitioners try to land, no? Especially if they are too high up. Diba nakikita natin sila, they roll. So they use the impact and they dissipate that impact to more movement para mabawasan yung stress na naloload dun sa katawan nila. In turn, is making them walk again or making them alive, no? Keeping them alive. So the thing is, it's the same principle applied here. We don't want the impact to go just directly back. So we have to dissipate that with a continuous motion. Diba? Kasi if we don't do that, if we just keep on, balik lang tayo ng ganito, tapos tsaka natin siya hihilahin, this is what will happen. Diba? Maraming unwanted sound, unwanted scratching that will happen. So it has to be one continuous motion. So you really need to move this part of your arm, no? Yung rotational movement na. It also helps in your bowing, no? Keeping it straight and the weight that you can produce, no? Keeping it balanced, no? Mas madali mong maibibigay. So it still relates to the video that I released a couple weeks ago talking about things that we don't see, diba? Because we really can't see us moving that way. You don't see your arm moving at a circle, diba? We only see it move straight because our bow is straight. But the way we want our movement to go is that we're trying to do a down bow with this rotation, and then we're doing an up bow with this rotation. So basically, our arm is rotating on its joints, right at the shoulders, no? While we do these things. Kaya importante, if I want my student to start bowing already, I always try to do this so that it lands exactly where it wants to go, and then you continue that rotation to your down bow, diba? And then an up bow. Yeah, you won't see it if I'm doing it with my bow, but essentially, ang nangyayari is we are rotating our arm. So, down and up, no? So, napaka-importante nung rotation. And then, there will come, especially in retakes nga, where sometimes magiging tunog na siya. Too careful. So, a lot of people might do it like this. Titigil muna, tsaka ilalapag, just to dissipate the impact. Syempre, mawawala yung impact, but the continuity of your motion is affected. So, magkakaroon ka ng stop. But the dangers is you might be late for the next phrase or passage that you will do. And of course, nawawala yung pagka-synchronized mo, no? Nalilimit ka. You become too careful. And then, it affects the way you play, no? So, you have to practice that na. You have to let your arm go directly. Kailangan talaga, desidido ka doon. No? Hindi pwedeng medyo merong, what do you call this? Parang nagiging super careful ka, or you're trying to labanan yung iniisip mo. No? You have to be decided and really commit when you do retakes, no? Para hindi siya magtunog awkward. It shouldn't sound awkward. It should sound as natural as you can. So, this is not just for single notes. Diba? Hindi lang siya for single notes. You can do it for chords. Yeah, you can still, it's still the same principle, the same thing. You just have to understand that you don't need a lot. Kasi yung motion na to, it attracts speed. We're using speed instead of weight. So, that's another thing you have to consider, no? Instead of just giving it the hardest push, no, you don't need that. You just need to be quick. So, the speed that your arm is moving in will compensate to the weight that you need. So, pag nasimulan mo na siya, and then that's the time that you can put in the weight that you want. Because of course, it will be faster. Kasi nga, nag-retake kayo, umikot kayo. And then you can readjust. You can adjust on the fly while you're already hitting the string. But the thing is, yun nga, once you hit the string, you have to start moving. Because if you don't move, that will happen. No? Of course, here in the lower parts, hindi siya masyadong bouncy. Because we are here, nakokontrol pa natin. Kahit mag-bounce siya ng konti, nailapat mo pa. But if you are going to retake in the middle, it's definitely going to bounce a lot. So meron pa rin lumalabas. But you can still do a lot more practice para mawala yun. Diba? So you can take away that. You can take away the bounciness, no? But you have to work on your arms, not just on the fingers. Because a lot of people think na sa fingers lang makukuha, na makokontrol mo na yung pagka-bounce niya. Remember, it's bouncing naturally, no? This is something that we can't change because the bow needs that in order for it to work. Kasi ganun talaga siya. It's a spring. We just have to not activate that spring. And how do we do that? Is by changing the direction of the force that we're giving. Instead of going down, we are rounding it off. No? It's the same thing as instead of going forward and back, no, you're trying to make this instead of going in a single plane or a single line. Kasi this is all going to be about inertia pa rin, diba? It's very physics oriented, no? That if you're moving at a certain direction, if you're gonna change direction, there is going to be a stop. Now here, if we're moving in the same direction, there is an equal and opposite reaction going up. Kasi ganun kabilis yung pagbagsak. So to dissipate that, you have to move in a different plane para hindi siya maapektuhan. And it's gonna help you with your retakes, no? In your continuous down bow strokes. Or even here. Siyempre, bouncy na rin talaga yan. And you also have to consider where you are going to play. Of course, the higher you are, the more bouncy it will get because you have less torque or less control with your hands, diba? Mas malayo, mas mahirap kontrolin. But also, if you want that bounce, you have the option. That's why it's there. No? You're not limited to just doing things. And just to give you more options to do things, diba? Ayan. So you can use your arm properly so that your retakes or continuous down bow strokes will not bounce around. Ayan. Para maiwasan natin. But of course, sometimes we need that, diba? We need the ricochet, we need that spring, but at some point in time, we don't. And this is a good option to actually work around with. So, practice with your arm rotations. Ayan. I hope you learned something new on this video. If you did, comment down below, like this video, share this video, and of course, subscribe to my YouTube channel. My course on Udemy is still available. Check it out now. And check me out on all major music platforms. I have a ton of content released. And check out my podcast on Anchor. And check me out on Fiverr. And what else? Sheet Music on Sheet Music Plus. And I hope you learned a lot on this video. This is Ryan Monakil for Violin Tips and Tricks. And I'll see you on the next video.